be given by, which will be presented by Professor Simon Tanner, Professor of Digital Cultural Heritage at King's. This session is vital to connecting the dots between us and a host of speakers here, not least University of Western Cape. And I'm pleased to say that Professor Pretorius is still with us. Simon, without further ado, but I want to offer 2 lines about you to help us connect why you're the one who's giving this presentation. Professor Simon Tanner is a digital humanities scholar with a wide-ranging interest in cross-disciplinary thinking and collaborative approaches that reflect a fascination with interactions between memory institution collections such as libraries, museum archives, media and publishing, and the digital domain. His balanced value impact model is used for culture, heritage, and digital impact assessment all over the world. And some of you, please look up his latest book, which is titled Delivering Impact with Digital Resources. Simon has long led our collaboration with South African colleagues as far as digital archive, the digital archive legacy of Archbishop Tutu is concerned. Thank you so much, Simon. Please, over to you.
Hi everybody, thanks for having me. I'm going to do a share screen because I've recorded my presentation because I'd like to show off some media in this, and I hope that this represents the massive amount of work that has gone on by many people across various countries, but particularly obviously in South Africa. So let me hopefully present the Arch in the Archive.
Sorry, Simon, I was just asking, are you going to be speaking to this, or are you expecting volume?
Yes, this is me speaking over the video throughout. So can you hear me at the moment?
I can hear you speaking to me, but I can't. The video is not generating any volume.
I do apologize. I don't know why that is happening. Sorry, everyone. I thought this would be the way to make this sort of media presentation work the best. Maybe that's a function of the share screen. I don't know if anyone in the presentation zone. Let me take off the share screen for a moment. Is it a function of when we share something? I do apologize, everyone. because we're now running further over. If I share the screen, is there a function to that? Oh, sorry, someone has said something helpful there. Thank you, Pam. When you share your screen, you need to click the Share Computer Sandbox. Oh, lovely. Okay, so where is this computer sandbox? There it is. Got it. Right. I apologize, everyone. What I will do is I will rewind the video just a tiny bit, but not all the way. The point I was making at the beginning was the change that comes from, let me just go back to here. One thing I'd like you to be thinking about as we progress through the types of archival materials that are out there, where are these archival materials, and what academic areas of interest and research interest are there, is to think about why archives and digital resources matter. What we're talking about here is if we can make available archival materials, if they are available maybe as a digital resource, then their use leads to changes which open up a wider set of opportunities for the personal community that engages with those materials. And this needs to be key to our thinking, and at the forefront of our mind is how are we going to benefit future generations and future researchers, scholars, lifelong learners, the general public, through our activities and collaborations and research. The life and work of the Archbishop Desmond Tutu has been told through many different types of materials, whether those are photographs, video, audio, and large volumes of textual materials. So let's have a look at some of these. This photo shows Desmond Tutu being enthroned as Archbishop. Other photos may reflect on his peace activism. Photos may also show the way that he links to other key historical figures and how he interacted with them and how important he was in terms of his relationships with other key figures from history. And of course, the Archbishop was there for key moments in South African history, here, Election Day. And in many ways, his life represents almost a golden thread through the history of South Africa, woven into the warp and weft of the fabric of the society and the history of the country. And telling his story allows us to engage with the story of so many others in South Africa. While we may think that all of the archives that are of interest here are in institutional hands or company hands, such as Oryx Media, there is actually a huge wealth of personal collections, personal archives that sit out there in the big wide world to be explored, to be maybe engaged with, to enable people to bring their stories, their interactions with the Arch, and to have their memories represented in some way, or to be explored through oral history or other types of research engagement. These images are a couple that I took myself and represent some of the fond memories I have of working with the Arch directly and meeting with Mamalea. Alongside all the photographic material is obviously video and audio, and particularly this sort of short media clips which were used in news or documentaries. But behind those is the raw footage of whole sermons, whole speeches, which if we could get our hands on would be an amazingly intensely interesting research resource of primary source material. let's quickly hear from the great man himself.
That one day my children will know that they are members of one family.
And of course, there are other media archives. There's newspaper records, there's media coverage all over the world. The item on the left, the Lambeth Palace reception, is, I believe, the first time that Desmond Tutu is mentioned in any newspaper anywhere. With apologies to Mpo, the story is about her being separated from the Reverend Desmond Tutu and shepherded back by Dr. Ramsay, the Archbishop of Canterbury. But we can also see how the Archbishop was reported in various international sources and national sources across newspaper archives. And this item in the middle is from, I think it's either 1988 or 1989, I can't quite remember now. But this was also the report of the event in Coventry, the very first time that I saw the Archbishop speak. I was dragged there by my sister. I did not go there under my own steam. But you can also see how his words are reported and what they're juxtaposed with. And of course, this is obviously a standard part of research when you're thinking about communication studies in those areas. And you can see obviously that the Arch was reported for many years in many news archives. This is actually a freely available piece about from the RTE News. And so there's lots of materials out there to be contextualized, to be compared, to be contrasted, and to where the storytelling and the narrative that academics can bring to these sorts of materials would add a great amount of richness. But let's come to the institutional archives. This is a picture of the archives at the University of Wits. You can see it's focusing on the South African Council of Churches material, but there are many, many box files here, and possibly 200,000 pages just within the Wits collection itself. And what we have here is a lot of paper. We have items written in the hand of the Arch. Those items will be converted into typed up material that would have been shared as part of the Bishop's Court supplements and comments from there. Obviously, the Arch was writing with his left hand when he's right-handed because of his childhood illness, and so the handwriting is not the easiest to decipher. And you see these sorts of communications going through a number of versions, from his handwritten version through drafting into final versions that are displayed out there. And so there's a fascinating story of creation that is represented by these sorts of materials, and also choices that are being made, you know, in the spur of the moment. What changes would you make? What's the new thing that you add? What's the thing you take away because of the news stories? And of course, within the office materials, there's also correspondence from the Arch to world leaders and correspondence from world leaders to the Arch. And so we have here a letter from the Dalai Lama from 1990. And so there's an incredible wealth of written material available in these sorts of archives. The Wits archive also has hundreds of hours of audio recordings of the Arch, and these were used to create the press releases in the Bishop's Court update, and also as a record of what he actually said. And we do have the entirety of the Bishop's Court update available to us as text files. So that's already available in a digital form if we wish it to be made available. The Wits has also digitized a considerable amount of the audio off of these tapes, and it's a really exciting source material because it reveals the difference between the written speech and what the Arch actually said when faced with an audience, and demonstrates his mastery of rhetoric. Let's hear an example.
Hello, hello.
You may have to turn your volume up. I apologize, this plays very, very quietly.
As an old man, I should really shut up. But because I'm an African, I'll say I have nothing to say and I take 30 minutes to say it. But I want to say to you today is a victory for common sense. It is a victory for the people. It is a victory for peace. Now, I think we want to invite Mr. Declare. Hello. You said you wanted to know whether we were going to be peaceful. Come here and see peaceful people. Just so you should declare your hands. Just lift your hands, please. They are empty hands. They are the hands of peaceful people. We can see the rainbow people. We are the new people of the new generation. You have already lost.
So where are all these archival materials? The biggest collections are with the Tutu IP Trust or the Desmond and Leah Tutu Legacy Foundation, the Maibui Archive at the UWC, and the Witwatersrand Archive at University of Wits. I haven't said very much about the Maibui Archive, so let me just quickly tell you a bit about that. They hold the materials that relate mainly to the Arch's secular life, his period from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission onwards, and they have a lot of his personal correspondence and family documents. The catalogue is available as a digital file, and we have also rekeyed that as part of our preparations. So that's now available also as an Excel spreadsheet if anyone wants to use that or have access to that. Where are all the other archives? Well, John Allen, who did a biography of Desmond Tutu, and his son Tim helped us to build a if you like, catalogue of all of the archives which have significant holdings of material on the Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And these date back from his early life with the CPSA archives, the King's College London student file, which includes such things as family photographs as well as his student records, which is why it's a closed file. But also, as you can see, as time goes on, there are other resources held in other archives, such as the World Council of Churches, or the collection that relates to his time as Dean of Johannesburg or Bishop of Lesotho. I'm just briefly showing you the report so you can see that what's in it. This is available as a PDF file. Happy to share this with anyone who wants to have access to this. As you can see, there are the materials at the South African Council of Churches. There's the period as Bishop of Johannesburg, the Bishop Court materials from the Archbishop Cape Town period, the CPSA archives, the TRC archives at South African National Archives. And finally here you can see a wrap up of the last few bits of information that were gathered before this report was delivered in 2005. I don't believe there's been any further reporting since then, and this probably does cover most of the material that has significance around the world. So what's next? How do we connect the past to the future for academic areas of interest and research? I thought it'd be helpful to delineate just some of the subjects that relate to Tutu and the research areas around those subjects. And I went and looked at the number of students in the UK, in South Africa, in the USA who are graduating in these various subjects. And obviously there are subjects in dark green here which are more central to the Archbishop's work: philosophy and religious studies, history, education and teaching, media journalism and communication studies, languages and area studies, the law, social sciences, which covers things like politics and international relations and genocide studies and peace studies and all those sorts of areas. The African Leadership Centre here at King's. There's all sorts of subject areas out there that you can see where there is a great interest. And there's sort of other areas which are where the Arch's life and work has influenced things, areas such as medicine and psychology, health workers, things like agriculture, food and related studies to do with the work, the thinking around climate change. And you can see that there's a very wide range of students who might be interested in his work. And I did a rule of the thumb guess here. So let's say 1% of all the students doing the dark green subjects would be about 150,000 interested students in this materials and researchers who would be interested in supporting those students and supporting their research by studying these sorts of very rich and valuable primary source material. And that's probably a low estimate because I've only talked about 3 countries here, not even the wider world interest in these materials. So as a rule of thumb, I think we can say there's a lot of interest in the work that Tutu has done. So to wrap up, I connected this back to my work on the value of digital resources and impact. And I've often talked about these 10 areas of impact. And it occurred to me that when I relate this set of archives, this set of research interests, that these areas actually are pretty much the areas we want to look for opportunities to do research, to do collaboration, to find ways of increasing our sense of community, of education and learning, of engaging, increasing knowledge of health and well-being, thinking about social and community cohesion, peace, environment, sustainability, political and democratization, and equality and equity above all. And so I thought this would be a provocation, but also an interesting starting point to any conversations we might have with regard to areas of research and collaboration from these amazing primary source materials. That's the end of this video. I'll make sure that this recording and the slides are available to you all. So I'd just like to say thank you for your attention. For me, you're on.
Yes, it was talk for a moment. Simon, I cannot thank you enough. Do you have any last words, or did you conclude already?
I have concluded already. My only last word would be that I will make the video available, but all of the images were given for educational use, not for broadcast or redistribution, which I said at the beginning. And also, this is really representing the work of many experts out there in the archive and museum world who've been gathering this material in extreme areas of challenges and oppression during the apartheid period, and all I'm doing is sort of pointing to these materials and hopefully the opportunities for collaboration across the world that come from them. And so I do so with the utmost respect for all those people who put their commitment into collecting these materials over many years.
Sam, this is great. I just want to thank you. Thank you so much. As you said at the end of that video, it's a provocation. It's also a solid basis for the kind of collaboration, but so impressive to see the, if you like, the extensive interdisciplinary collaboration that the Arch himself engaged in order to achieve the great mission that is set his mind on, not even by choice in the first instance. I want to thank everyone so far, and I want to hand over to our Dean, Dr. Ellen Clark-King. Thank you to you and to our colleagues for making today happen. It's an excellent start for what's to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Funmi. Thank you, as Funmi says, to all our participants, contributors so far. It's been wonderful to have this opening to the colloquium. We're going to unfortunately miss our break, though we will still be stopping for lunch in a little while, and move on to our next session. And it's my great delight to welcome our next speakers. As we know, the Arch had a great passion for young people to be taking on the work that he had been doing and to celebrate the sort of upcoming generation of theologians and movers for justice. So in this session, we're listening to some younger voices reflect on the impact of the Arch's life and work. The chair will be Dr. Megan Robertson, a postdoctoral fellow under the auspices of the South African Research Chairs Initiative, Chair in Religion and Social